What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Talk That Sport. It's Jordan Jones rocking with me, CJ Jones. Say what's up to the people.
What up, people? Let me make sure I'm talking to my mic and my radio voice because
Hey,
our our
Aaron
producer
said thank you.
our producer Aaron sent me a strongly worded message on Instagram. I still love you, Aaron. I'm gonna use my radio voice. She's like, use your radio voice and talking to your dang mic. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. That's all I can say. Aaron's like a little sister to me, and I just be like, yes, ma'am. I don't fight her on that. So
Hey, you
whatever I
sound
can
you
do to
sound
sound
good.
better, I always sound good. Have you seen? I got a voice of an angel, bro. Like if
You
you
do.
imagine you're in heaven
Okay.
and angels talking to you. You know that's the voice you would hear. It's mine. God just gave me that voice.
You know,
It's
I
God
do
given.
commend
Some people have
you
talent.
because you and Christian have like deeper voices than me. And as
I
much as I
but Christian's
try,
voice is deep.
I
Christian's voice
know.
goes like
And it's
Christian's
like
voice
as
goes like
much as I
this.
try to have like a deep voice, I just can't get like a deep voice. I just don't have that voice in me. I don't have a really good speaker's voice, a really good radio voice. I just have a high pitched. It's weird, guys. I don't know why. It just is what it is.
I've always thought I had a higher pitched voice. But and like I hate listening to myself on the playback because I'm like, dang, your voice is so squeaky. But like I've played with it over I guess the last course of a year. Dude, we're almost at a year at this
I
podcast.
know. I
I don't
know.
even know how many
It's
episodes we have,
May.
but
We're
it's
episode
like definitely
33, y'all. Episode
so,
33. And it's
so
a
we're gonna
fun
be
one.
short. We're gonna be short of our 52 because how
Yeah,
many
it
weeks we
won't
take
hit
off?
52. Yeah, we've
We take
taken
like
out 6 or 7.
yeah, we've
So,
taken some breaks, guys. We're taking well, I mean, this is what's gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna be week to week. Some weeks you may have two eventually. You never know. We'll
yeah.
figure it out. We're trying to have, yeah, like I said, we're in the process of rebranding. Not rebranding. I want to stop saying rebranding. We're still gonna be the same people. Just doing more different stuff. Just doing
Yeah,
different
yeah.
stuff.
It's gonna in the spirit of doing some different stuff. CJ, what we got going on the show today?
Wait, are we already bringing them in? I thought we were talking
No.
nonsense.
Yes, we
Then
are, but
why are we talking about what's going on to the show until we
you
got somebody
have to
coming on?
let the radio people, the
Why would I
podcast
want to let
people,
the
the
podcast
video
people know?
people know what we're
Jordan,
doing on the
We throw
show.
them a tease. We throw them a tease with like 2 minutes before showtime. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going straight into the goddamn like we want to keep them around. We don't want them to skip this part. We want to like bring them in.
Okay,
Gosh,
if CJ, if they have listened to us for the past 10 months, they're not skipping past this part. Let's be
well, you
honest.
never know. If like there's
This is
some
what
people
gets you
like
ready for the show.
Reg's mom maybe listen to this pod or something like that. She's like, I just want to get to my son's part. I want to listen to all the crazy stuff we have to say.
Yeah, I agree, but I want the
Yeah,
people to know
you're
what
drinking a Dos
what we're doing
Equis.
today, and what we're talking about today. Don't try to change the subject on me.
All right, guys. No, for real. Today we have I guess we are continuing our 105.3 The Fan carousel roll.
I know, right?
We have first of all, we don't say this when Reggie gets on the show, but shout out to 105.3 The Fan. Their people have been so nice to us and coming on and then
They come
talking
through.
crazy stuff with us during
Hmm.
shows, and we've had some fun interviews. But today we'll have Reggie Adetula. That's He's KNC now, right?
Yeah, KNC.
All right, cool. I was like, I
And
when I first met Reggie, he was on weekends. When I first listened to him, he was on
and
weekends.
he is on the weekends. You can
So
listen to
yeah,
him on Saturdays from 9 to 1
is he what
for
show is he
Reg
doing?
and Will Chambers.
Oh, he's with Will Chambers now.
Yes,
Oh,
Reggie and Will Chambers. Yeah, they
Will,
have
that's
it's
my
a fun show. They
guy.
talk about some good stuff. That's
I
my
don't,
Saturday
I don't
morning
listen to radios
sports.
on Saturday, but now that I do have a job where I drive around every day, for 10 hours a day, I am back on my Tolo bandwagon. So yeah, so I've been listening to 105.3 The Fan a lot lately. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's good to have Reggie on. We're gonna talk a little bit of everything. So there's gonna be some sports talk. There's gonna be some culture talk. Whatever, wherever the conversation goes, guys. Y'all know how interviews with us go. It kind of just go like you just shoot the. I can't even cuss anymore, Jordan. Dang, you're taking all my language away from me. We're just gonna shoot the
hey,
breeze,
I
guys. We're
love
gonna
you.
just shoot the conversation. You know, I can't. Once a month, we're gonna have an explicit podcast where I just do a show with somebody else, and I'm gonna drop f bombs all day on it.
That's
To be like
fine.
I have it on there. Pretty soon. Oh, I talked to Aaron. Aaron said she's down to do another pop culture pod soon, so that's coming in the next month or so. We're gonna talk.
Already.
Actually, Aaron, this is how I talk to Aaron sometimes too. I talk to her on the podcast. Aaron, we're gonna shoot for when Loki's coming out. So after the first episode of Loki, we'll have you on after the first episode of Loki. We can talk fun stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of shows, I know next week we're going on a Her Sports Convo, so that's going to be a little bit of fun. So we're going to talk the NBA play-in tourney. We gave y'all a little sneak peek last week on that conversation and our opinions on it.
And how things have turned.
How
the Mavericks still win tonight. Lord Jesus, they'll be back in
then
the
I'm going to be hating
again.
that play-in.
They'll be back in the 7th spot again. If the Lakers win, right now we're at 6. But the Lakers win.
I am on an emotional
and Mavericks lose, they go to 7.
But you know what, though? And I know we're going to talk about this later, so I don't want to dive too deep into it. But honestly, this is why they did it. Look at all the intrigue around the league over the last 5 games of the season.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, it's great. With 3 games left to go, we're going to have some – you have the Knicks, if they go 0-3, could go to the play-in game. You have the Celtics currently in the play-in game. It's you got a lot of marquee franchises still there. Today's gonna be the elimination day for some teams. Like we can eliminate New Orleans today and clinch our playoff spot. So that's a big thing. All we need to do is win 1 game. Our magic number is 1 to at least get the 6th seed. To at least get the 6th seed. It's a 1.
Need 2 to get the 5.
You need 2, and you need Portland to lose 1. No, you need Portland to lose 2. You need to win 2, and Portland needs to lose the 2. Because we're tied right now with Portland, and Portland has a tie.
Yeah.
We're the same record with Portland, so we have 3. Both got 3 games left. We have to go 2-1. They have to go 1-2. They can do that tonight, but we're losing to the Jazz. But Jordan, before we bring Reggie on, I need to talk about this. All right, so guys, for those who know, I'm a TV junkie, and I had some very upsetting news. If you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you've seen me send a bird to. Right now, I'm just really mad with Fox, Bally, all of them right now. You know, it's not even like Bally Sports.
Oh no, guys, we lost CJ. CJ done froze up on us. See, this is what happens when CJ gets into his rants. He starts going on these rants, and then he just completely freezes up.
I thought I lost everything, guys. My computer just went unstable connection. I'm like, why? Okay, but where did I leave off? Where did y'all lose me
at? Your Twitter rant.
Cool. All right, so I can't watch the Mavericks on Bally Sports right now. Because every time I try to go to the Bally Sports app and log in with Jordan's cable information, right? It says game unavailable after I sign in. So it's frustrating with Bally Sports right now. I missed the old Fox Sports app. All right. And then Fox TV, and I'm one of those people, I like to let the show get 2 or 3 seasons in, get established. But lately I've been like, let me reach out some limbs, get some good shows. So I found this really good show last season, Prodigal Son. I freaking loved it. And then Monday, and this season's been great. Like I was almost late to this episode just because I was watching in the front room, to be honest with you guys. And and this week on Monday, they cancel a show that is rated 7.8 on IMDb, has a great Rotten Tomato score. They cancel it for God knows why. We don't know why. It's a great show, and everybody's completely sad. So I don't know how I'm gonna deal. Hopefully we can just bully them like we did with Timeless and at least get 1 more season out. Let at least finish the story. I mean, and then Dan, oh my God, so much stuff just happened, and I'm truly in the feels. Jordan, I'm just heartbroken. That's all I care about. I've been mad about that for the last 2 days. I've just been, my Twitter timeline's been WNBA and podcast. But you should bring somebody in and just not tell me.
Yeah, we're ready.
We have a whole chat bar, Jordan. We have text messages. All right, guys. For those who are not watching us live or who are not watching the stream, we have with us for 105.3 The Fan, Kansas City Masterpiece Show, Reggie Adetula. What's up, my friend?
Yo, what's happening, fellas? How y'all living?
We good, bro. We good. We good.
Man, you sound great. That is some high quality microphone right there.
Yeah, man. When you do the audio stuff for a living, and like this, I paid a little bit. It's not like I paid a grip for it, but I paid a little bit for it. You can't do like lesser quality type stuff. So I did my research, made sure I got something that sounded pretty good, and I think I appreciate the compliment.
Oh yeah, bro, it's clear.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, dang, I need to get one of those right now. I need to upgrade my mic right now. First of all, shout out to I like the hoodie, bro. We support the WNBA on this podcast.
Gotta do it.
I for it this weekend.
Man, I cannot wait till Friday. I mean, this is a season that is super anticipated. Because the W has gotten some of the love it deserves. It deserves more, but it's finally starting to get more of the love, and you're starting to see an even greater influx of talent. So the hoop should be great. And as somebody who is like from out of the womb hoop lover, the W provided that. So I'm super excited.
I'm stoked too. Who's your squad? Who you rocking with?
See, this is the thing. When you work in sports, and I know that like there's dudes on the station who, absolutely fans, but my experience working in sports and stuff is that my fandoms have kind of faded. Okay. So I'm not necessarily as much a fan of teams. I like players, and I find interest in sports in general. So like I'll watch hoops, and if there's good hoops on, I'll watch it. I'm watching pretty much as much football as I can watch because that's what people do. And for me, I'm just kind of a sports junkie. So I'm watching tennis, I'm watching golf. I've gotten into auto racing recently. I'm watching all sorts of stuff. But so teams have kind of faded. But where I started, I was born in Houston. So if there's a Houston team, I was probably at some point interested in what they were about. Shout out to the now defunct Houston Comets.
Houston Comets, that was my squad, my guy. That was my squad, my first team. Because I'm all Texas, everything. I really liked Houston too much. Not saying nothing about Houston. My brother lives down there now.
I ain't mad.
But like I was never Houston man. But the Comets came around, man. I was rooting for them all the time. And then when they got defunct,
back to back. Like how can you not enjoy that? How can you not enjoy greatness?
Every time a Minnesota Lynx fan, like I get in beefs with people all the time, especially Lynx fans, and they like we're the greatest dynasty. I was like, y'all didn't go, y'all went back, skip a year, go back, skip a year.
Right?
Like, no. We went 4 straight years.
Yeah, man.
And nobody could touch us. It was not even close. I'm like,
the original GOAT on deck too. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the work of Dorothy Gentry. She's fantastic. Covering the Wings, doing all sorts. She covers the Mavs too. She does a lot of great work. Yeah. She recently wrote a piece on Cynthia Cooper, giving her roses, in honor of the 25th anniversary of the W. And I know Cynthia Cooper also wrote a great piece in the Players Tribune herself that was super insightful. If you love the W, and especially if you want to put some respect on a great's name, those 2 pieces are incredible. So shout out to Cynthia Cooper Dykes, the greatest, the greatest woman hooper I know of, and
did it when she was like not past the prime. She was in the prime. She's always been in the prime. She came in the league like all these young dogs. I'm about to teach y'all something.
She had a whole career overseas. They started the W, and she was like, "Let me go run that too." At 34 years old.
Them USC Trojan teams, like people forget, like she was on those teams with Cheryl Miller and Pamela McGee, Stafford. You mean not Pamela McGee, Stafford? Pamela McGee.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, man. So that's dope. I'm really excited. Like I'm like you. When the WNBA comes, I root for a lot of players. So like I'm everywhere this year. All this rookie class. I got like girls from every team. I'm just like,
yep.
I just want to see you hoop this year.
Yes. Like I mean, and not even just this year. Last year, because we were kind of cheated out of a season. Like you got the bubble, and they did what they could. We didn't get to see the full extent. Like I mean, you talk about cheat out of a season. I'm ready to see Sabrina Ionescu get out here and hoop because. We got a little taste, and it was really interesting to see. And then if you're talking about rookies now, I won't say it's my team per se, but I do get a lot closer to the Dallas Wings because they're local, and I have an opportunity to get interviews and cover them on a little bit of a basis there. That's a super intriguing team just because they went and they decided let's rebuild, and they're rebuilding hard. They got rid of everything, and they were like, we're just going to go
down.
We're going all draft picks, and they have all the draft picks. So I'm interested to see the growth that Satu Sabali has, that Bella Allery has. Ty Harris probably gets more responsibility as a point guard. And then the draft picks they got, Charlie Collier is going to come in and instantly pretty much be their center that they're going to expect to do a lot. They got Dana Evans, who I'm not sure Dana Evans even makes the roster this year. I think she will. I think they're
gonna give her on the roster.
But I mean, like, you got somebody of that caliber who came out this season who is like threatened to not make the roster. As I mean, that happens in the WNBA, but that's the kind of rookie group that they've got, or young player group that they've got, where you just got a whole bunch of interesting names that you've seen do things in the tournament on the women's side in the NCAA that they're just kind of putting together and letting go. And of course, Vicki Johnson, who, by the way, if you ever have a chance to talk to her or hear her talk, she like, it gets you fired up. Yeah. Like she has that type of flow to her. Like Brian Agler obviously has done this for a long time. So he was the coach last year, and he had an interesting way of going about things. I have a feeling that you're going to feel something different when you see Vicki Johnson's Dallas Wings out there.
And the way the Aces players talked about her when she left to come to Dallas, it was like amazing. I think she was the right coach for this team at this point in time right now, especially coming from a team that just did the same exact thing that we are doing right now in Vegas. Because everybody look at Vegas 4 years ago, they were in the heaps. They were left San Antonio. It was Kelsey Plum, Asia, and then that thing started rolling. They got Cam Bayes, they stole her from Dallas, and it just worked out that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, adding stars in that way, that'll jumpstart it, and of course, getting Asia number one overall. I mean, that MVP caliber player constantly, that's incredible. I'm still intrigued, and maybe this is on me to go and do more work. And of course, I'm not near the preeminent voice when we talk about the WNBA. There's some great people doing great work. I still haven't seen like what actually happened with Liz Cambage, with Skylar Diggins-Smith. I was just talking to somebody about that today with the Dallas Wings, and I know that they're going to be tight-lipped about it because there's no real reason to get out there, running your business out in public. But I'm super intrigued what's happened there, because I was asked just today, you think Enrique is happy in Dallas? And it's a question that I hadn't really considered per se, because I mean, it seems like she's cooking, but that doesn't tell you everything. We had that kind of feeling looking at Skylar, looking at Liz a little bit less so, because Liz is very vocal. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really interested in those types of things. But yeah, I mean, all that suffices to say, the W has so much intrigue, and I'm super excited to get these things rolling.
Yeah, my Twitter timeline has just been totally just infected with WNBA talking. Like I said, a lot of voices like Serby Terrell, who did the whole they were trying to cheat him out of his little credit today when he asked Stewie about the Pumas, and she signed with Puma today, especially. So it's just, I like to see the league growing just like you. I love seeing people wearing the orange hoodies. I love seeing people wear the hats. I got the socks on right now. And
the best thing about the orange hoodie, right? Obviously, you get to show off the league and, kind of find those people that also have that connection and support, that realize, oh, no, you rock with the W2. Yeah, and then there's that community. On top of all of that, one of the most important things for me with this hoodie, it feels like your loved one is hugging you. It feels like your favorite auntie is hugging you. It's really comfortable. It's crazy comfortable. Like, there are some hoodies that look cool and you wear them, you're like, all right, this is just kind of no. This one feels like love.
I got one coming. I've been trying. My wife says I spend too much money supporting all these businesses and all these people. So I gotta stop. But I gotta say, babe, I gotta put this $60 out.
Yeah, but let her wear it one time. She'll understand.
I won't get it back. That's the problem. I want to get it. I want to keep it.
Yeah.
Then I got to buy two. All right, man. Okay. So, man, we're a year removed from COVID. How has this last year been for you? I know y'all still been working, and y'all have made it work over at 105.3 The Fan. Y'all have had some transitions. How's it been?
Like, you doing 6 days a week now?
Yeah, I know, bro. You working.
I'm still doing 5 days. It just, it slid a little bit. Had a little slide protection, For one, and I know you didn't do this intentionally, I do not view it as we're 1 year removed from COVID. COVID's still out here in these streets if you're not careful. Yeah. So, vaccinate and all those things. If you're available to mask up as much as you possibly can, be responsible and all those things. But yeah, it was wild seeing that happen. Obviously I think a lot of people had the same flashpoint where Rudy Gobert ends up testing positive, and it becomes very real to a lot of people. And that happens. And I know that me being, I'm not a germaphobe, but I like to be pretty hygienic. It took me to a whole different place where, you're cleaning off things. And that's before we even got more information about how not only is it airborne, we need to mask up and everything. I find myself cleaning all sorts of things and making sure I'm washing my hands like crazy. And then we find out more information and making sure that I'm masked up. But for the most part, I was already a little bit of a homebody. I spend a decent amount of my time to myself. So that didn't change a lot. And I thought that I, adjusted better than most people, because I know there's some people who like to be out, and there's people that absolutely spend a lot of time with other people in their presences that had a hard time. And you've seen the social media posts and folks that were pulling their hair out and all those types of things. And I was like, I'm doing better than them. I'm like, I've lived this. I'm cool. And maybe a few months back from right now, I was looking at it and I was really thinking about it. I was like, man, I crave that interpersonal relationship. Like I did not realize how much I needed it, even in those small doses that I got it. When you're deprived of it for a long time, it does get to you. And even for somebody who thought that, I'm really self-reliant, because I grew up as an only child. I have little brothers that were born when I was 13 and 15 respectively. So like I grew up my younger childhood being an only child. I knew how this went. But you get to a point where you realize, damn, doing a year without really, really seeing people it's not something that that you handle easily, regardless of what coping mechanisms you had. So like on the personal thing, that's been the thing that struck me the most. On the work side, it's actually been really easy to go about these things. Funny enough, having a big old media corporation behind you makes that easier, right? They are going to find a way to get money. Like the money train can't stop just because there's a pandemic outside. They are going to find a way to get this money. So
y'all at home? Yeah.
If they got to work from home, they're going to work from home. Of course, I'm not nearly as important. I went into work, because I can't push buttons from the house. But they did a great job of making sure people were spaced out, that we didn't have people all together. And luckily for us on the KNC Masterpiece, our show, we picked up the flow of things really easily. Doing shows like this where you see people over your Zoom meeting or whatever medium that you're using, it made it go pretty well. Our audio devices obviously did not have the lag that sometimes you get, but we had our audio, we had the video, and we still had that feeling, luckily for our show, where as long as I can see you in the face and I can hear you clearly, the conversation can flow. And so we would still be able to do the conversation. We still are able to have intelligent conversation. And the makeup of our show, we've got smart folks, and we've got folks with wit, and we've got folks that enjoy spending time together. And when you do that, basically you're just having a big old conversation where you're jamming together, and that works really well. So the technical stuff worked out well. Now, the thing that was tougher than you realize is you look up and you go, oh yeah, we're a sports station. It ain't really sports cracking, so you have to be creative in the conversations that you have. And sometimes you even just have to decide that we're just going to have fun at all costs, whatever the topic ends up being. And hopefully in you having fun, everybody else will have fun and rock with you. And I think that our show in particular did a really good job of doing that. So when it comes all together, looking back over the last year, dealing with what we're dealing with in our world as regards to coronavirus and that pandemic, I can't complain personally. Things have gone really well. I didn't break down entirely. I had some realizations, and I absolutely had to take stock of some things personally with my mental well-being, those types of things. But man, I'm doing great, all things considered. And I don't say that to rub it in the face of the people who aren't doing great, because I see them and I feel for them and my heart is with them. But taking stock of everything has worked out pretty well, all things considered.
I love to hear that, man. I love to hear that, because with us, we had to do the same thing. We started this show 2 weeks after the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of what podcasting started for us from was boredom, being at the house
and just talking.
Wanted to connect with friends and talk.
I was at work. I was at work when Rudy's test came back positive. The next day, they was like, "Yo, y'all good? Y'all come back.
Don't even worry about it."
Schedule was clear. I was like, "Yo, okay, we closed. All right, so I'm at home." And I was newly married, bro. So everybody thinks, "Oh, that's cool. You get to be with your wife." When you see your wife for 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
man. After 3 months, we was like, I need to go mow the yard. I need to go do something. I'm gonna go walk around Walmart with my mask on for 4 hours. It's all good. So I understand it, but that mental part was the hardest part for like, especially like to me, and with my brothers not being local, like Jordan and our other brother Christian lives in Houston. It's even worse because like now we're just calling each other around throughout the day. Like, what you doing? You bored today? Like, let's talk for 2 hours. So I understand it. Jordan, you've been really quiet this interview. I feel like I'm just talking a lot.
Man, you and Reggie have been vibing since y'all hopped on. I'm letting it happen. Yeah,
I'm with you. We homies now. That's all. It happened like that quick.
Hey, I don't mind that. I'll take the back seat. It's all good. But I am interested in knowing because so I watch the same shows like over and over again. So I have to preface that because I say I'm like a huge TV person, but I watch like the same 3 shows like 1,000 times. So
those shows are.
So Psych, I've watched like 1 million times. I've watched Key and Peele like 1 million times. I've rewatched like SNL from season about 2008 to 2020. I've rewatched that a few times as well. So
that's a really interesting combination you got going there.
I know.
And we grew up in the same house. And I've never seen those shows. Like I was not a Key and Peele guy. I was a Chappelle guy.
Same.
And so I couldn't watch Chappelle. I mean, I've seen skits, but I couldn't just sit down and watch a show. I'm more person.
So the funny thing, the thing about Key and Peele that really struck me is it feels like there was like a generational gap because there's a good friend of mine, roommates in college and everything. His little brother was like, Key and Peele is the funniest of these types of shows, and was like Chappelle show, and he was like, no. And I found that was fascinating to me, but. It feels like that's kind of a generational thing. So, Jordan, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Huh, that's interesting because, like, I think you would be on. So, like, what were your feelings on Chappelle's show and compared to Key and Peele, and why is Key and Peele hit you so hard compared?
Here's why. I never watched the Chappelle show when I was younger. Part of it was our parents never really let us watch stuff like that.
We were very sheltered children.
So I got into Comedy Central when I was like in college back in like 2012. And so that was when Key and Peele was coming out. And so I had watched it throughout that. And I just love comedies in general. It's a mindless comedy and it's funny. And so it's one of those shows I just put on and I'll watch it. It's short.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense. The thing with Chappelle, for one, I think you had to have caught it to have like the strongest attachment to it. You have to call it live because there's a lot of like revisionist history that happens with Chappelle's show where we go like it's the smartest show on television when they weren't trying to do that at all. Like they were just doing things that made them laugh, and which is why you get things that are super juvenile, like him having a choir come in and sing about diarrhea, and you know, like there's so much juvenile stuff that I think some people don't even think about because it just happened. Plus, like, if you'll remember the literal first sketch, maybe not sketch, but the first thing you see, the first vignette, if you'll allow me to say it, that you see on Chappelle's show is about a Mitsubishi ad from, I think, 2003 with the lady that was like dancing in the Mitsubishi. And that is something that doesn't have replay value. I can't show that to nobody that didn't like fully live through that ad time and them find it any level funny because it's all incumbent upon that time. So I think that some of that plays in, but the tough part about it with Key and Peele for me is that I can't take away that knowledge that I have of Chappelle's show and the things that happen there and the comedic timing that happens there. Because the thing that kills me about Key and Peele is I think that both Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key are very funny, smart dudes. I love them on Mad TV and everything. But you come to watch their sketch show, and I feel like some of the stuff they do, the idea and the premise is funny, but their execution isn't.
Yeah.
So like they'll get out a premise, and either I feel like they don't run it out well, or even if they run it out well, they run it until they run it into the ground. So they miss their exit ramp on leaving the joke at the right time. Like the case in point, there's the one about basically they're going back and forth with the hats to try and one up each other with the hats. I don't know how I explain that to somebody who hasn't seen it, but like one dude has one hat, the next dude tries to come up with a flyer hat, the next dude tries to come out with a flyer bigger hat. Ultimately, it comes out. I don't even know if this is the end of it, but I think it was like Jordan Peele's character comes out and he's got like a big wooden board across his head with a Asian woman on top, like basically sweatshopping some new hats. Like that is a bridge too far on that joke. Like it just feels like it did too much and it takes too long to execute your joke. So like if that's your first exposure to it, like the premise is funny, but when you've seen people execute jokes a lot better and hit the out point smoothly, it's tough to come back to Key and Peele and feel like they are hitting, because it feels like they're doing that on a lesser level, doing that in a sloppier way. So that's the funny thing about Key and Peele for me when it comes to like Chappelle's Show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're good. You're good.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, and I think really it came down to, like, for me, the stuff that they were talking about at the time, I was living it while watching it, so I could relate to it. And if I go back and watch the Chappelle Show now, like you were saying earlier, this stuff happened, back in 2003, earlier 2000s. I mean, like, I was alive, and if I watched it back then, it would be relevant to me, and then I could have the nostalgia of it, like going back and rewatching. But since I never got that connection to it in the first place, it's hard to get that and watch it. Like with Psych, the reason I like that show, if you don't know James Roday, like, dude is hilarious. Like, him and Dule Hill play well with each other. It is for sure. Yeah, they're comedy gold. Like, they're very funny with all the smart, quick comments that they make. And so that, honestly, the storyline is trash. Like, so I'll tell you that. Like, it's not a good storyline.
I'm glad. I didn't want to say nothing, but I'm glad that you know that. I'm glad that you recognize that, because I wasn't going to say nothing, because that'd be real disrespectful to me as a guest to come and be like,
this is the greatest show of all time. Reggie's like, it's trash.
Yeah. So,
but no. Yeah, that show is absolutely made by those two characters and their relationship.
Yeah, so that made it all for me, because I can watch it. I have watched it so many times now, because I watch it at least 3 times a year, laugh every time, and at least 3 times a year. I know it's so funny to me.
Our engineer and me have been telling Jordan for like months, like, bro, just pick a new show and go through it. He's like, no, I can't. Every time I want to watch something new, I turn Psycho on again. I'm like, why?
Like, have you run Monk? Okay. That's similar. Have you run Scrubs? Have you run Scrubs?
I have, yeah. I've watched Scrubs a couple times. So here's why. So I do work a lot. So and then I'm actually getting my doctorate right now. So
congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm extremely busy. So when I do have that time, I don't like getting invested in the new shows, because then I won't be able to finish it quickly. Mm-hmm. And if I do, I'm going to be putting off a lot of other things I need to do.
Right.
With Psych and stuff, I've watched it so many times. I know how it plays out. I don't have to, I can like put it on and mindlessly watch it while I'm doing other stuff and still enjoy it without having to really invest a lot of my time into enjoying it play out. So that's really what it comes down to.
I find it interesting because I know there's a ton of people do that. I've never been somebody who enjoys doing that. Like if it's something I've watched, and I'm also terribly different because since I was young, I had a fear of missing out. It's one of the reasons why I'm invested in so many damn sports that other people are just like, I don't care. It's because I have this fear of missing out. And I thought that I'd gotten better out, and I realized, no, I just moved it to other places. So I have this feeling in me, like if I've watched a show, it's really tough for me to rewatch it, because in my head, I'm going, instead of using this time watching this show that I've already watched, I can watch another show or other content that's out there. So I won't do that, like where you put on a show and just not pay attention. Because if it's a show that I enjoyed, that I've invested time in, I'm either going to pay attention to it to like try and continue more nuances in it, or I'm going to put that effort into somewhere else. I usually like listen to a podcast or something. So it's not something I have to visually pay attention to, which is what you're talking about there, because you're still listening to it. I'd rather have something that I'm listening to that also can be something that's new or that has a different topic, because also I have too many interests. I want to hear about comedy. I want to hear about politics. I want to hear about all these. So like there's too many interests and there's not enough time in the day. So I have to try and maximize it. So yeah, I always feel weird being like, yeah, let me watch this show that I've watched. Except for The Wire. The Wire is the greatest show that's ever been on television.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I got to bring that one back around.
I need to ask you this question. All right. So look, Jordan, I know where your question was going. This is where we're going right here. All right. So I saw that on Twitter that you liked The Wire, right? And you watched. I'm with you. I agree. It has some of the greatest seasons of all time, especially the greatest first season of all time. No. I'm asking you a question. It's not the question you think it is.
Okay.
If you had to start, a fictional drug ring, who would you want to run your operation? Would you want Avon, Franklin, or Ghost?
Well, I ain't watched Power, so I don't know if.
Okay, cool. Don't worry, it's trash, so don't even worry about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I cited as much. That's kind of why I didn't watch it. Avon, absolutely.
Man,
Franklin, in addition to be a young boy, like, and they've imbued him with some of those young boy traits. There's a lot of aspirations, and there's a lot of not necessarily. And there goes my microphone as I knock it over. My bad to everybody listening who just heard something really awkward. Franklin has like a lot of aspirations. Plus the writing leaves like plot holes and stuff. So like the character doesn't always do what you think the character would do. And I'm not saying that to shade Snowfall. I enjoy it quite a bit, but the character doesn't always do what you expect him to do. Plus, like, again, this is a dude who is, kind of a startup, and he's got a lot of aspirations. So he's doing a lot of like wild stuff because, risk reward, that type of thing. Avon Barksdale is like I don't want to say the perfect gangster, but like he understands what this is and what it isn't. It's one of the reasons why Avon Barksdale is admirable and Stringer Bell is a sucker. Because Avon Barksdale understands what this is, right? There are some rules to this stuff that you kind of need to abide by, not because like they're rules, but because that's what makes this stuff work all together. And he understands how this works. Like he understands what is required in this and how like that it is what it is. Stringer Bell ultimately wanted to take this illegal enterprise and make it like legal business, except it's not legal business. That's not what it is. And you cannot apply those rules to something that it is not. And by trying to make it that, it shows that even though people think that he's smart because he went to like some community college business classes, he's trying to make something that it's not into something else. And that's just inherently not going to work. It's what people call trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Mm-hmm. The very premise of what he was doing didn't make sense. No matter what type of theories and theorems and those types of things he applied to it, the basic premise of what he was trying to do didn't make sense. So Avon, in that way, he kind of had the apprenticeship that is natural to that drug situation where you come up in a crew and you work your way up, so you understand the levels to this and the layers of this, and you have experience in this. You see what can go right, you can see what can go wrong. Maybe you have some ideas in going through it that you see maybe you can improve upon it. But once you get to that point and you build up an empire, you've accumulated some understanding of the culture and society of the streets and how to move dope or whatever you're moving. You understand, the situations that you will encounter, because there's a certain landscape that you're situated in, right? Like there's a setting for what you're doing, and he understands all of that. And I think the other two didn't have. Well, I don't know nothing about ghosts. Let me not.
He didn't know about it. He didn't know about it.
I don't think Franklin had a good understanding of that. He leaned on his uncle Jerome to have some understanding of that, and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I absolutely Avon Barksdale.
I absolutely agree with you. Even though at first, when I first thought about the question, I was like, it's Franklin for me. It's Franklin for me because Franklin is like. He has like some of Avon's characteristics, and I just did a rewatch of The Wire, but I'm like, Avon was a dog, and Avon was still alive at the end of it. All right, after all the people who got killed off, Avon's, even though he in the pen, like he still alive, still getting taken care of, everything's still good. So I want to see where Franklin is 2 or 3 seasons from now. But like I said, the writing is not doing him justice on some things. When it has him walking through the hood with a backpack full of dope and he still don't get robbed.
Just the dumbest. Not only that, right? Went up to a fiend, like, where you get this from? Walked into the den of whoever this was dealing this clearly very addictive drugs and was like, look, man, I'm just trying to broker a deep. Like, it's really the young dumb stuff, the youngest, dumbest stuff. You know what I mean? Like, anybody that took a little bit of time to think about what was happening goes, yeah, that was really stupid. Incredibly stupid to do that. And yet they were like, you know what, we're going to have him do this. And there's not any consequences of this. And he's actually going to come out like ultimately great. And this is the tough thing for me, because this is where you need some suspension of disbelief. Like some people are just going to be like, yep, that's how the situation went. And that's how it went. And I'm not the person who easily gives up disbelief, who easily suspends disbelief. So I'm sitting here like, come on, dog, really? Word. So he just happened to get nostalgic, went to the old Black Panther's office and found a crackhead in there, and the crackhead took him back to the, like, really, all this happened? Word. And he didn't get robbed in the middle of Oakland, California.
Yeah, with a backpack, and you don't look like you live there. Like
you're not from here, and you're just walking around the hood at night.
Our younger brother just started watching Snowfall. I've been trying to tell him to watch it for like last 2 years, and he just started watching with his wife, and he's on season 4 now. And he was like, first thing he says to me, he's like, "Yo, bro, it's cool, but oh boy's walking through Oakland with a backpack full of dope and didn't get robbed." And I was like, exactly. There's some problems to it, but then look, Franklin's still a dog though, so like.
And the show is good. I feel like I have to keep adding that.
Oh yeah, no.
The show is good. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's just, you have to say these things because then if you don't, people get on the internet and say which is better, The Wire or Snowfall, and I
hate that argument. I'm like, go watch The Wire. It took me a while to watch The Wire. The first season took me like a year to watch it, just because like it was too slow for me in the first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to episode 5, I was locked. Rest of the show.
And the tough thing about it is like those aren't even in the same strata, because I know that Snowfall is like is loosely based on like real happenings in the 80s, but it is simply like a drug drama, and like that's cool. It's enjoyable. The Wire, I think there's a lot of people that miss The Wire because they think it's a drug boy show, and it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a show about failed institutions. Like it is entirely about institutions and how they fail people on various levels. You start at the street because that's what's interesting, and two, what I just completely forgot the name. David Simon. It left me right as I was about to say. That's what David Simon experienced when he was writing and working in Baltimore, and like he had some understanding of that. So you start there, but then you widen out, and that's why season 2 is super important, because you got to see how the drugs move into the and how not only that, how the depression, like the economic depression, and how the drugs factor in to the white working class. Because if they don't do season 2, it's just a drug boy show.
Yeah.
When you get to season 2, you see how the drugs are connected to the white working class, and ultimately then up to politics, the early instances into politics and police. Then you get to season 3. Season 3 is what again? You get back to the street and
is that Marlo season? Is that Marlo season?
I think Marlo does come in 3, doesn't he?
I think. Yeah,
you could tell I ain't rewatching a little bit. I probably need to do that.
I watched first 2 seasons, and now hop to Amsterdam, and now season 3 is
So yeah, you get a better idea of police in that one. That's season 3. Is you get a better idea of how policing is corrupt, and how policing, not even corrupt, how good police, and I'm gonna put that in air quotes because I don't feel like dealing with that. How good police can even be failed by the system at large. You get to 4 and you see, which is the most heartbreaking season, you see how it fails students, kids, all together, the system. And then of course season 5 is how the media tries and fails and ultimately is failed by the system. Like it is top to bottom how institutions fail and ultimately fail the people and the citizens. And like that is so much deeper and more complex than they moving drugs out here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like these are not the same show at all. They happen to have a commonality, but they're not the same show.
And then a lot of people, when I talked about The Wire, and I know we've totally derailed this from sports, but this was going to happen regardless. But,
it is what it is.
Don't worry, I'll come back another time. We can talk.
There we go. No, but it's a total snapshot of Baltimore at that time period. A lot of your favorite characters from that show are Snoop,
real Baltimore people,
real Baltimore, and she was about it, right? And like I just watched the scene where she bought the nail gun the other day, and I was like, that is one of my favorite scenes of all time. And she's so serious. Like Jordan, I'll send it to you. I know you haven't watched The Wire, but but it's a great
it's
scene.
all going right over my head, right?
Yeah, it's a great scene. And so I tell people, like when you look at it, it's not like it's like almost like a period piece. Like this is how Baltimore was then, and this is where this actually goes on down here. Like David.
But Simon, this is the thing about that. One, I think you're right, but then at the same time, I have a friend who his name is Tosin. He actually works for CBS Sports with their Champions League coverage. He's at Nigerian Scams on Twitter. Incredible follow, especially if you like sports or if you like soccer. And he says that like you can go to Baltimore, like because he spent time in his youth in Baltimore and he kind of grew up there, even though he's like born in London, I think. that there's places where he's been around there. They look the same to this day. Like this is a period piece, yes, but it still exists. And Baltimore is Baltimore as the setting because that is where David Simon was familiar. And I forget who the former policeman who became one of the writers of the show. Also, they have experience, but this stands in for any American city because it's not just that unique to Baltimore. These failures institutionally happen in all American cities. It's a stand-in, and the city of Baltimore becomes a character itself because there are some uniquenesses, but this stands in for all these American cities, So I think that is something that you can't forget in this. I forgot what the other point was, but
no, you're good. That's exactly, you can't make it better than that. Dan on the Wire. It's one of those shows that if you haven't seen it, at least invest some time in it. Just try to watch it. It's good for the writing. It's good for the.
And it might not be for everybody because, like you were saying, it's a slower build, it's a slower burn. It's not good. There's some action, but it's not nearly, that type of show. So I can see if you don't like it, but it is an incredible show. It's written so well. The characters are real. They do real things. They do things that make sense within the character. Yeah, all that.
Hey, McNulty, worst cop of all time. So I'll leave that on.
Terrible person, at least.
At least. God, yeah, terrible person, terrible cop. Yeah, God, McNulty, still love him though. So okay, let's get into some other sports than football where we came to talk to.
All right,
because I'll talk TV all day. How you like? So we saw the NFL release the schedules. I think they did the Cowboys. Like I knew they were going to do this year. I just knew it. I was like, look, Dak's coming back. We got a big paid quarterback. They're going to put us on Thursday Night Football. The first game of the season. And look what we do. We get Thursday night with the Cowboys and Tampa Bay. And we're probably gonna get blown out. I'm just sad about it. Where are some of the key matchups you like this season? If you had a chance to look at the schedule, are there some games you're excited to watch?
I haven't looked at the official schedule. Of course, throughout the day, you got people kind of hypothesizing and surmising through various means what the schedule looks like. I hate to be this guy, but I'm going to be this guy because I kind of view a lot of these things differently in sports. I don't really care that much because this is the thing. The NFL schedule is formulaic. Like we do this thing where everybody goes, yo, I can't wait for the schedule to drop. Everybody who you're playing.
Yeah.
You just don't know what is happening.
When you play it.
Literally, you play everybody in your conference twice. You play another team everybody in your division twice. Another division in your conference once, a division in the other conference once, and now you play, and then like 2 games,
one extra team,
like your placement, and then I guess another game from the other conference. Like what all 17 teams are going to be, you just don't know when. And the tough thing about this is because I know where people are coming from. You prime time games and those things can be flexed. Okay, well, when do you see them in the season? Okay, that matters somewhat, but we also don't know what these teams are until we get out here and play football. There's some games that you circle on the schedule like, oh, this one's going to be a banger. Find out that guy's injured or this team isn't as good as you thought. So, I don't actually know. I don't have anything to talk about with the schedule besides, hey, man, they playing football games, right? So it is interesting that they're going to start off the season on Thursday night. But at the same time, everybody's got to start the season sometimes, and it's not like, well, you're coming off of a loss. Like everybody's starting the season. It's going to be the start of the season, and you're going to play someone. Now, I am interested to see because they have such a big game with Dak. Dak has been out here in the public saying that he's 100% and he'll be ready to go and be like normal. And cool, I'm willing to take him at his word, except, bro, I saw that on the TV. I know y'all saw that on the TV.
Were we? No, you weren't here.
I'm not willing to say definitively that he's just everything's going to be honky dory next time he steps out there. If the next time he steps out there is the first game of the season, you know what I mean? I'm not willing to say that. I really do need to see it. And if it ultimately goes fine, cool. I'm happy for him because I really wanted Dak to play well and get his money, and it'll be better football for me, which is what I'm here for. Yeah. But the idea that he's going to get out here and be perfect, I'm not sure. And if there's a team that you don't want to see off the jump for the Cowboys, it's the reigning Super Bowl champions, especially that team where their defense was everywhere in that Super Bowl game. You saw the defense. Not only were they in the backfield, which, Chiefs' offensive line was battered, The secondary was laid out perfectly. Todd Bowles deserves all the rounds of applause and all the applause that I know that not enough people gave him.
No,
because the defensive scheme was incredible, and they brought back all their starters, and everything is going to be fairly similar. I imagine that's one of the benefits of bringing back all your starters. So they're starting from a place where there's a common understanding. You're looking at the Cowboys. The offense should be cool. A lot of talent. Dak Prescott, hopefully he's back to normal. That's up in the air.
Yeah.
But let's assume that he is. Take him at his word. That offense should be kicking, right? What the hell is this defense? they've done a lot to try and address it, but you've got a lot of new pieces. You've got an entirely new defensive coordinator. I don't know what mini camps and offseason is going to be like with COVID restrictions. You're putting in a whole new defensive strategy, or maybe it's not whole new. Maybe, it's piecemeal or whatever. The factor is you're not coming in on the same playing field as that other team. And their offense was good and their defense was good. They know what they're doing. You are on a learning curve coming out against a tough team. That's unfortunate for them that they get that type of level of competition in week one where you're still probably going to be figuring some things out. That's the one thing I can say about that. Other than that, they're going to be out here playing football.
Yeah. I'm happy to have Sundays back.
Yeah. And I appreciate your honesty because honestly, before the show, me and Cedar were looking at the schedule and I was like, half of these teams, we don't even know what they're going to be when the season starts next year.
I got no reason.
And so and I'm looking at it and I have one view of how this season might go. CJ has another. It's a toss up.
There was an argument about record already. There was an argument already before the show.
CJ thinks the Cowboys are going to lose more games in the division this year. I just don't think that that's going to happen.
No. You think they're going to lose more games in a season
I said 4 and Jordan's going. He said he's thinking they're going to go 6-0. I said 4-2. He split Washington. He split New York. I think he beat Philly. So I mean that's what I'm saying. I think they lose. Jordan's like Dak doesn't lose in the division. I'm like, well, they got some mean defenses this year in the division. So and I like Washington's football, the football team's defensive line. So, but I've been caping for all NFC teams this year, so I need to stop that. I really
history isn't on your side.
Yeah, I know. I've been caping. I was like talking about. I gave the Eagles some hype before the draft, and they went and messed that up. And then I was talking about the Giants. He hated me for it. I'm just here for football this year. As long as my fantasy team is good this year, I'm good. My Cowboys sucked last year, and my fantasy team sucked last year.
CJ said he's rooting for him.
I'm rooting for my bank account. I'm rooting for my money. My gambling situation. Lord, I don't care if Jerry. I don't get no Super Bowl ring if Jerry win. I'm good. So as long as I get my trophy at the end of the season, I'm happy.
Do you play any fantasy?
This is a fun question because I do, especially now. I do, but begrudgingly.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, when you're in high school, you don't realize how much time you have. You think you're busy. You're like, man, I got so much homework. I'm so busy. You got nothing but time. I used to play fantasy baseball all the time in high school. I'm talking about changing lineups in the middle of the research. I knew about Troy Tulowitzki on his way up before a lot of people knew about Troy Tulowitzki, right? Like that level of involvement. And then I got to a point where, you get into college and you actually have less time. You still have a lot of time. You don't realize how much time until you actually get a job or whatever. But I had less time and I was like, I don't want to be spending all this time doing fantasy basketball and baseball where you're here every day. So I was like, you know what? Cutting it back to just fantasy football. And then there was a certain point where I realized I don't like playing fantasy football because it makes me watch games differently. I'm watching the one player that I need instead of watching the game and watching what's happening. I don't like that. So I kind of cut it off. And the last couple of seasons I hadn't played fantasy. This year, I accidentally agreed to be in a baseball league. So I'm playing fantasy baseball again. And I think I played fantasy football last year. Yeah, I played fantasy football last year just because I was like, all right. And so like I've done it, but like it wasn't something I intentionally really wanted to do. And it's probably not something I keep doing, but obviously I've said that before and here I am. So we'll see.
You're still in the game.
At least you're honest. I know me and CJ have played we don't play in the same league. We play in two different leagues, but we've been in those leagues for years. And
didn't we have a joint team last year?
We did a podcast one, and we did not keep track of it because our teams were in Okay, so me and CJ both won our fantasy championship 2 years ago. And so we came into the season feeling all good.
Mm-hmm. We were on the phone every week.
Yeah.
I won. The streak is going. Keep it going.
Yeah. And this year, both of us sucked so bad. I had injuries. All my players, Blake Jarwin hurt, Dak was hurt. I can't even remember all the guys I had on my team, but every player that was injured last season was basically on my fantasy team.
So well, I know for sure that I didn't play last year because I knew I was like, I don't feel good playing fantasy football usually. Why would I play fantasy football when they're playing in the pandemic? That doesn't feel right at all. Yeah. So I definitely recall avoiding all that stuff.
Yeah, I wish I set out at this point.
For me, it's just the friends. Like I've been in the same group for 12 years now. Yeah, Lord Jesus, a long time with these guys. And it's bragging rights. At this point in time, it's personal. It's like we don't care what it is. If you losing, we mad, we joy, people get injured, hurt. It's personal for us. So I don't think I ever stop it. I have given up a fantasy baseball. I won a league 4 straight years in a row. I'm like, I'm done. I'm retired. Yeah, y'all can't handle me in my baseball knowledge, bro. So I'm good. I'm never playing again. Basketball, I can't do fantasy basketball. I lose track of it all season. Mm-hmm. So football is the only one for me. I'm like, that's all I run now.
That's the thing. You gotta have the right league. That's really what it is. So if you have like some friends and you have that commonality and that's kind of what helps foster the relationship further, all for it. That sounds dope. But I really, really, really hate the leagues where you get halfway through the season and somebody's checked out. And I don't blame them for checking out, but it's not fun no more. Or the leagues in which you look around and you're like, yeah, y'all don't actually know how to do this. I'm out here playing by myself. That's no fun. So like, there's just so many reasons or so many instances where you can end up in a league where you're looking around like, I'm not enjoying myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't do it. Now, if you found the situations where you have that league where you can enjoy yourself, it's cool. And I'm never somebody who's far be it for me to get out here and tell people what they can and can't do. If you enjoy it, do it. But yeah, I find just there's too many instances where it's like, this isn't fun. And I'm here for the fun. Life is too short to be doing things that you don't enjoy.
Yeah, it's too short. You're like, why would I do something not fun? We have a guy in our league who just donates $50 every year. He drafts his team, never sets he never sets his roster. He's 12 years. Like, he's just been it. And like the way our league works is you keep your spot as long as you want to, as long as you pay your money. Like, we'll pay. But everybody else is competitive. Huh? No, he doesn't. It's now Declan's thing. It's like Declan, that's what he wants to do. That's his thing. But it works because this is what happens. Declan made the playoffs last year. Didn't change his roster that one time. He's done it 3 times. He's also won the league once. So,
jeez.
Declan's wild. Declan's wild.
Wait, you saying that like that's wild? I would be embarrassed to say that y'all lost the league.
I wasn't leagued in. I wasn't leagued in. It was before me. But yeah, he lost to it. He's had some weird years. But the best thing about it is when you go into a stretch in your team and you hit bye weeks, you got 3 or 4 bye weeks, and Declan's got a full roster, fully healthy. Everybody going, and you put in your little minimal roster, and he beats you like by 55 points. And he picks up like 6 or 7 wins every year, just killing folks. And I'm like, Declan, I hate, and he doesn't make trades. He doesn't pick up anybody. He like, you can't call him. He's like, I don't care about fantasy. And he's like, am I winning? Because he told me he made the playoffs last year. He's like, oh, y'all made the playoffs? Cool. I'm not gonna change my roster. He's like, whatever. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't.
So, man, I would be so pissed.
I simultaneously appreciate his ability to not give a damn about it. But at the same time, why are you here? What?
He just likes to donate the money. I swear. Like, we've asked him. We went to Colorado last year to see him. And not last year before last. And he was like, are you still doing fan this year? We need somebody who want to buy your spot. He's like, no, I'm still doing it. You sure? Somebody wants to buy your spot. They'll give you $100.
Oh my gosh.
Like, no, I'm still in. I'm like, okay, whatever. We'll take your money.
I feel like at this point he's doing that on purpose to see if he can beat y'all.
If you knew
while
Declan,
not changing his lineup ever.
Declan's definitely doing it. He's trying to win another one like that. It's okay. Oh gosh. Okay, we kept you over, Darrell. Man, my guy.
I do not care. I'm not doing nothing. I'm chilling. Look, man, the Pelicans ain't got nobody playing. KP coming back to play against the training squad, so it's not a lot happening.
Let's just hope they show up. Last night they didn't show up when we had a chance to clinch. And
last night Luka didn't show up. As much as like Luka's incredible, he's carried the brunt of the load for the season. He's been doing a lot. but that don't mean we got to lie. Luka was out here looking like booty in that game. And he is the engine of the team. If the engine don't go, the rest of them boys ain't doing nothing, especially not without KP. Maybe KP's good enough that, if Luka's not doing well, maybe you can make some go with KP. He wasn't out there, and Luka wasn't doing nothing but being garbage. And honestly, he looked a little disinterested. And I'm not gonna bang on him for it because it's a long season and he's had to be so locked in. But that's what happened. We can be honest. He did not look good. So I can't imagine. And he said as much himself. I can't imagine that happens frequently, and I can't imagine that happens again this season.
No.
And I think he's gonna be hard on himself regardless.
Yeah, he'll probably have 40 tonight. Not play the fourth quarter because they're resting because they're up by 30. He'll bounce back. He always bounces back when he has a bad game like that. So I
will ask you a Mavericks question since we got extra time. Aaron, don't kill me. I'm going over. Do you think this Luka KP thing can work? I'll rephrase that question. Do you think this Luka KP Rick thing can work?
Wow, you made the question harder.
Because the Luka KP thing is too easy. I have my opinions, but I want to see. Yeah.
It can work. The thing is, you need health. You need availability from KP. That's the tough thing. Luka's going to we've gotten to a point where Luka's a given. If he gets better, even better, but he's a given. And right now, he looks like a dude that you're going to build a team around. Easy. You need to get him some, secondary playmaking so he doesn't have to do everything. But those are ancillary things. KP is very good, and he can play. We've seen the ways in which he can play with Luka, especially once you solidify those guys, you start building around them and adding pieces that complement what they do. But he's injury prone. You can't get past that. There's just been so much time missed due to injury, even in situations in which you've tried to handle him with kid gloves. And now this season is tough to gauge that with because everybody's dealing with some stuff because of the season and it being condensed. But we can acknowledge that his stuff ain't normal stuff. He probably has normal wear and tear, but there's a different level of this with KP. And I don't want to write him off because there's always the possibility that it can get right. I'm just not in the business of gambling on stuff that don't look like a good bet. And that's the tough thing about KP is it's starting to look like not a good bet. And maybe some people will argue that it's not even starting to look like a good bet. It's looking like it was that way before. So that's the tough thing with KP. Now you add the Rick thing on top, and this is something that frustrates me to no end because people are going to knock you down every time you even bring up the idea that Rick Carlisle should maybe move on from Rick Carlisle. But this is pro sports, especially in the NBA. You can be a good coach and get fired. Yeah, that happens. I know some people are so locked
Brad Stevens.
If you're good, you shouldn't be fired. Sometimes you don't need, because the question always is, well, then what's a better coach? Sometimes you don't need a better coach. Sometimes you just need a different coach. And look, it may seem a little unfair because, he does not control roster construction, and they outside of Dirk, once Dirk was on his downturn, they didn't really have anything else. But what have they done since the championship? He's been living off that ring for a very long time.
It's been 10 years.
And you can also point to the fact that Rick Carlisle has never been a guy who builds or who does particularly well, does exceedingly well with young players. He seemed to be a veterans type coach. This is a team that is ostensibly trying to be a young team. So the general profile wouldn't fit. Again, I'm not trying to jettison him out the door. I'm just trying to talk around this thing. So there is an argument to be made that maybe, just maybe, you need a different coach, because I kind of want to pull up right now the longest tenured coaches in the NBA, and I know Eric Spoelstra's up there.
It's Pop.
But Carlisle's is easily top 5.
He's up there, yeah.
And there's not a lot of teams that you look at that have those guys for so very long without making changes, even and especially teams that have played well. And Greg Popovich has been in San Antonio for a very long time. They don't look great, and it's starting to feel like he's about to walk off into the sunset too. You look at Brad Stevens; they haven't been able to do some of those things, because Brad Stevens is actually a good analog here. Jordan, you brought him up because that's a team where their front office and Danny Ainge. I really dislike Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge hasn't done what he's done to construct the teams. He's made so many missteps. One of the easiest ones to point to is he fleeced Brooklyn for that deal, moving on from the old guys, letting them go to Brooklyn, KG, Paul Pierce, letting them go to Brooklyn and getting a whole bunch of assets back, getting a whole bunch of draft capital. The Brooklyn Nets have come around and been good again, and the Celtics still haven't achieved what they wanted to achieve. They let them get bad and good again in that time span. So that's how bad the executive's been. You look at Brad Stevens, and he's been there 7 years, and you're starting to look around like maybe you need a different coach. Because not that Brad Stevens is a poor coach. I don't know that he's a great coach, but he's not a bad coach. But maybe they need a different coach. And it's kind of wild to me that you look around with Dallas and the Mavs. And of course, there's some people that kind of think this way or that are even open to it. But there's a lot of people that are just not open to the idea that maybe you might need a new coach.
I am totally on the bandwagon with you on this one because, like, Rick was the perfect coach when he came to coach Dirk. That team was a team that was underachieving under Avery Johnson. Was Dirk needed some other type of system around him, and what Rick's system did was to benefit Dirk, and it worked for that 3-year span when we went to win the title. And then ever since then, Dirk got old really fast. He wins that title, he goes, and we love Dirk because national treasure here, a local treasure. But he went downhill so fast after that championship. He just wasn't himself with injuries and just health and just getting in an age. They didn't build the team around him in a great way. They kept trying to go for the big fish. And so he was able to make lemons out of lemonade. But now I'm more about retention. And if we want to keep Luka, it's not about keeping Luka happy. If we want to get him winning, because if he can't do first round exits, he's going to be gone. Like, LA is going to be a calling. New York is going to be a calling. There's going to be a lot of people that Luka going to make a lot of money for and be there. And don't think he's a Jordan athlete. So, I mean, a lot of connections there too. So I think you need to get a coach in here. And there was a couple coaches that I liked on the market. And I think Brad would even be a good coach for Luka because Brad doesn't want to have the same situation as he has in Boston, where Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown think they're both the best player on the team.
And rightfully so.
Yeah, they're both good, but they both think they're the best player. So you can't have two guys like that. KP may think he's the best player on the team, but KP knows he's not the best player on the team, right?
And I'm very hesitant to get into that because I don't know that. I haven't had any reporting, and I can't see that necessarily exactly. So I'm not going to put that on KP.
I got you.
Yeah. It's very clear you're not working in this. You're not working in the same situation as Boston has right now, because also like. They're in the same time frame as well. They came in the league about the same time. So it's not even like these two are the same talent of player, but one guy is clearly the future. Exactly. They're both in the same time frame. They're both in the same talent. So you do have a weird dynamic there as well. So you're right on that regard.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the question I always ask, like people who either cover the Mavs or talk about the Mavs or just in general talk about sports with Lucas. Like, is this trio going to work? Is this our divine trinity, or do we need to go somewhere else? Just me personally.
Yeah, I think that you really need to get to a point where nothing is set in stone. And on the KSC Masterpiece, we actually talked to Mark Cuban a few weeks back, and he made that interview. He talked about the guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
he said if a situation, and I think this was about the front office, but it might have been front office and Rick Carlisle. He was like, if I feel there needs to be a change, I'll make a change, but I don't feel that way. So it does seem like they're kind of set in stone and locked in on this way. And you're right. The clock is ticking. Usually star players, they'll sign that first extension. And then after that, they're looking to move if they haven't had success. Luke has been on this team. This is his third season. Well, 2 more years on the rookie deal, and then he'll likely sign the extension. I could see a situation in which Luke is different, but like you can look at AD. He got upset in like year 6.
Yeah,
something like that. Year 6 or year 7.
Year 3.
So you've got a few more years, but once year 7 comes around, you better have made your case that because otherwise he's going to look around. He's going to be courted, and there's going to be a lot of teams that have been saving up cap space because Luke is coming to be a free agent at that point. So they have a sense of urgency, but I don't know if it's placed properly. And I'm not saying that as somebody who feels like I have the answer, because I don't. I really don't. I hope in all of the answers that you've gotten the understanding that I'm just kind of parsing this out and like poking and prodding and trying to see what because I can't tell you, okay, fire Rick Carlisle and go hire this guy. I have no idea. I can't tell you fire Donnie Nelson and go hire a different general manager. I can't tell you go get this other player and replace them with KP. Like, I don't have the answers, but I do think that you find yourself in a bad place when you do not open yourself to any possibility of answers, because the answer may be in a place where you have shut yourself off from. And I do fear that there's a possibility that Cuban may be shutting himself off from one of the possible answers that would get this team to a championship.
Yep, I totally agree. And that's a great place to leave in the podcast on, the live show on. Reggie, want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really enjoyed talking everything with you, man. Love the energy you brought. It was one of our favorite interviews, bar none, we've had on this podcast. So thank you so much for coming. Tell the people where they can find you and follow you.
Yeah, man. First of all, I appreciate y'all inviting me. This was fun. And like I said, we'll do it again. I am at Reg Adetula on Twitter. That's pretty much where all you need to know. REGADETULA. But yeah, hit me up there. And I hope that you don't expect to just see sports, because I just tweet about whatever. And I get to some places where I'm like, damn, I'm tweeting too much about sports. I need to switch it up. Or damn, I'm tweeting about too much nonsense. So it'll go back and forth. And if not, I apologize in advance for whatever you end up seeing anyways.
All right, I love it. Hey guys. All right, as always, want to thank our wonderful engineer, Aaron. I'm sorry, went over 11 minutes, now 12 minutes. Please forgive me. I'll send you some chocolates. Aaron Bird for making it sound so lovely. I want to thank Only Music for our intro and outro music. Guys, as always, Jordan, do the thing.